very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
Really?
Brexit means Brexit.
Why?
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
China.
What?
China.
What?
China.
We looked at the dining table and saw an opportunity to play with whack.
Strong and stable.
Stood alone last night as Kipper.
You are fake news.
Why?
Because the reality may be that you don't know what is going on, but people won't be able to tell the difference.
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible.
Why? Just why? It is a lovely, shiny Sunday morning, and we're all knackered and recording.
That's right, lad.
And Ian's just done a great big fart. So thanks for that, buddy.
Well, it wasn't really a fart.
You smelly twat.
It's I've had a little feel and it's a bit moist.
Oh, dude.
It's only poo. Come on, guys.
Too far.
Let's all be mature here.
We all do it.
One of the lads.
Everyone has bodily functions.
I don't know. Chris told us boss little technique. Wait,
For farting.
yeah, right. So what you do,
I thought there was only one way to do it.
oh no, like this is epic. If you do a silent one, but it hits you first and you know it absolutely hums, you've got to keep a pan straight face and just go. He says this is the best thing ever because everyone automatically sniffs. You smell burning. Right? He said because people never just lean in and give it a good. You go burning what? oh my god, you dirty bastard!
That's great. That is perfect. I'm gonna try that one.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know
I
what?
was like, genius!
Such a wrongin'. You're a wrongin'.
Although the other day I did say it to someone in where I just let one loose. I saw them one, and I just went, "Hey," to the person sitting next to me. Hey, is that you? And you know they're genuinely, honestly saying, "No, wasn't me."
That was well you, wasn't it, lad? That was well you.
And you're just like, "Oh yes."
Just like, I do you have like that little thing, like a little devil, little angel on your shoulders. They're both going, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if you want a devil and angel on your shoulders, both going, yeah. I used to work in a relatively well-known supermarket, and my silent but deadlies, I'm pretty proud to say, pretty fucking deadly. I used to go round the aisle when a new one was brewing, and I'd see like a young couple who were pushing a trolley together, and I'd just walk up, drop one, and walk away. I wouldn't even break stride. I'd just be like, dump and run, and then turn round at the end of the aisle to just see the girl turn round to her fella, smack him, and just go, "You dirty bastard!"
Just walk past like leaving a little airstrike.
Just boom.
It's when if you get the other way around, and the fella's looking at the bird, it's like, the first time she chooses to fart in front of me, in the middle of a shopping centre. Oh my god. And she's not even bringing it up.
Oh, she's blaming me. Oh my god, this relationship's going. I've probably killed about 50 relationships, so if any one of these people are listening, that was me. I'm sorry.
It was me.
That was me. It wasn't your fella, and it wasn't your missus. I walked past you and then went, and then just carried on and just let you blame each other.
Yeah, your bowels are the worst. You really are.
Right, so on that happy note, anyway, so we're Why Just Why, as always.
And you're already thinking, why?
This is what happens when we record early on a Sunday morning.
Unless, in all fairness, like I think nearly all the fellas who are watching this go, the fart, the poop,
the poo jokes. Right, so welcome to Why Just Why. As always, it's me, Craig Taylor. We have the never ever stopping laughing guy who just drowns out everything. To my left, Ian Reynolds.
Hello.
And just to make you see that, he tries to not laugh and then makes himself laugh by trying not to laugh. Useless. And to my right, we have, as always, a Mr. Dave Tinsley.
Yo. What's going on?
Oh,
this room stinks.
Dave's all hip today. Yo. Let's hear it for my homeboys.
Do you know why he's like that? Is because he's trying to distract himself from the pungent aroma of your fecal matter. That's what he's trying to do.
Joining with your fecal macher.
I am
Macher.
farted for
Macher, yeah.
No, not my fecal macher.
Your
I haven't
macher.
farted
It's not
for a
bad,
while.
it's not matter,
I'm
it's become
brewing
macher.
one, but I haven't let it go yet.
Sounds pure, Matt.
It's unrefined.
It's not a gas, it's a solid.
Oh Jesus!
Good job there's no scratch and sniff feature in podcasts. Oh my god, I am struggling.
Just loads up on the screen.
Yeah.
People are I wonder what the studio smells like now. Oh god.
There's a tube that comes off the computer that you can put up your nose. So, yeah.
Press back, press back.
Delete. You got me really worried about those people. Like, I want to know what the studio smells like. I just
That's a really weird request. I'm listening to these guys. I know there's 3 guys. They probably sound pretty sweaty at this point. I wonder what the studio smells
Not
like.
sound pretty, we look pretty sweaty as well. That's why we've got a face for radio.
Right, so this week we are having a slight change of plan. I know last week we said we were going to hit some randoms, but as again we do try and keep topical, we've had a few requests and we're going to be covering the current snap election in the UK.
It's not like we were, researching other stuff and then had
No, it's not like we had other stuff in the pipeline had to change or anything. We're not bitter about it at all because
I harbour no resentment.
No, especially Ian, who done probably a week's worth of research on the next topic that we're going to do, but we're not going to mention that now. You can just keep it in the pipeline for later. I'm getting dirty looks right now. But anyway, we have had a bit of a change of plan and we're going to be covering the election. We're going to talk about the parties. We're going to cover them. We're going to cover their manifestos and we're going to give you a bit of a rundown on what they're doing. We're going to try and stay relatively apolitical, if that's that possible, but we will end up giving you our opinions at the end, especially. But we will attempt to stay non-biased until we're actually saying to you what our opinions are, or we're giving you some info on background and stuff like that. But we'll do our best. We'll do our best. I'm not promising anything though. Really not. In terms of this, there is a lot of bias. There is a lot of bias.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just a smidge of bias.
So the plan is we're going to go through the 2 main parties this week. We're going to talk about Labour and the Conservatives, mainly because they do have the greatest numbers at the moment. But don't worry, we aren't going to discount all the other parties out there. We are going to be talking about them. We're just going to leave them till next week because we have...
They don't matter.
Do you remember this thing about no bias? It's like Dave's just basically going, by the way, if you're disappointing them, you're just throwing your votes away, so fuck you.
Throw you under a bus, off we go.
I support Watford.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, well done. Do you want a cookie? Because it's the only fucking prize you're going to get. Right,
It's funny because it's true.
It's
We're
funny
all
because
thinking
it's
it.
true. But next week we're going to be covering the rest of them. So we're going to be covering stuff like the Lib Dems, Plaid Cymru, SNP, the Brexit Party, Greens, and all of the other little random ones. We
all
will
your
probably get a mention, but they probably won't get too much of our time, realistically. No. Like the Independent Party for Change, which I can't see that going for much longer, realistically.
Yeah.
They kind of hemorrhaged all their members about 10 seconds after they were made.
I think they thought, it's going to be a big movement and everyone's going to leave. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, everyone's left us. Oh, I didn't mean leave like that. Supposed to leave the other parties, guys. You got the wrong idea.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover the Labour and the Lib Dem. I was going to say the Labour and the Conservatives this week. We'll run through the manifestos. We'll talk to you a bit about their history, and we will give you our opinions on how realistic their claims are going to be.
That's the idea,
That's the idea.
Okay, so let's roll. What are we going to start with then? Which one?
Which one? Well, I
think Conservative.
think Conservative would probably be the way to go. We'll start on the Conservatives.
In the blue corner.
Ding ding. We have coming in weighing at 552 pounds. Boris is here. And in the red shorts, we have a man who's older than time itself. Hooray! The white-haired Willie Washington Corbyn.
I think we should all eat quinoa.
What?
like
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Finish your laugh. Finish it. Go on. Get it out. Get it out so we can, people can actually understand the words.
Does Ian laugh more than he talks?
I genuinely think he does. To be fair, I mean, I've known Ian for quite some time now, so I can decipher his laugh talk language.
They're actually words.
There is actually words in there.
Chuckle is a word. It's a language all the time.
It is.
Yeah, is it like if you hide the volume so much after this recording, you get like subtle subliminal messages in his laughs?
That's exactly what it
You've
is.
got to play it backwards in a repeat loop. Change the frequency a little bit.
And
Run it through a
thoughts.
spectral analyzer, and then when you run it through a spectral analyzer, it basically shows you a portrait of the Mona Lisa.
Magic.
Right, so let's breathe in, breathe deep in and deep out, and
I like
now
deep in.
let's get some words.
Right.
Let's hear the words.
I forgot what I was going to say. What are we talking about again?
It's going really well on a Sunday morning.
Slippers.
I'm going to keep saying this is going to be my excuse for this podcast. Is it's Sunday morning.
No excuses, come on.
No excuses.
Right, so we are actually going to stop being dickheads now and talk about the Conservative Manifesto.
What do you mean?
Aren't
I
we,
was trying.
Ian?
Right. Oh, right, yeah, okay. Boom, we're back on track.
Right, so we're going to start by covering the Conservative Party's manifesto. We're going to go through the promises and pledges they've made within and how realistically we think they are going to achieve them, or if they're even going to bother, or if it's all lies, or if it's not, or all of it, really.
Just gonna bother.
Over to you, E.
I like that one. Right. So yeah, if they're gonna
That wasn't
bother.
that wasn't very non-biased, was it? I've broken my own promise. Whatever.
Straight off the bat, boys. You're gonna be asked. If you're just gonna be asked.
First, yeah, just like literally first sentence out of the gates, and shack.
I call bullshit.
We struggle to be impartial, aren't
Yeah,
we?
and that was our analysis.
Join us next time when
Yeah.
we'll rip into all the other parties.
So we're going to start off with the Conservative Party. Going to go through the manifesto. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what a manifesto is, it's just a little document that breaks down what that party hopes to achieve while they're in power. Now, the manifestos are easy to find. You can literally just go on the website, you have a little link onto it, click on, and it's nice and simple to find.
The simple link to the manifesto. The manifesto is not a simple fucking read. It really isn't. It's like terms and conditions or warranties or something like that.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, you're looking about a 100-page document, which is not a user-friendly read. If you're not used to reading these types of documents, it's going to be a struggle. And to try and fit who your local electives are and find all their manifestos and read them all, the average person just not have the time
No,
in
never
a day
happened. Never happened.
to do that.
Oh, is it like individual as well? In the party?
Individuals do have, for their own constituencies, they have their own manifestos
Oh,
for their own
really? Yeah?
constituencies
Oh,
as
my
well.
God.
You have a party manifesto which they all kind of stick to, but then each one for each area will have their own aims and objectives that they're going to do for your area.
Wow.
So you basically have to read both. You have to say, you have to weigh
Yeah.
up what do I want for the country, what is my local one going to do for me. And there's just so much information out there that the average public has to try and take in to make these votes. So you should really be forced to make it user friendly, but they're not.
No, they're not. And then it is literally like, it's when you scroll through one of those terms and conditions and you just click agree at the bottom. You haven't read that. I've never read that.
Yeah.
So I've probably agreed to sell my bloody liver to 6 different companies, so let the bastards fight over it. It's one of those.
Bring it on, bro.
Bring it on. Yeah. Which one of you wants it? You're not getting a piece each. It's going to be useless then. Fight, bitches. But it's like that with the election.
Monty Python.
Oh, the live organ transplant. Yeah. You told us you could have your liver. But you walk into that election booth without reading these manifestos, and it's essentially, it's like that. It's like you put your X in this box, you're agreeing to the terms and conditions of whatever cockhead you've just voted for, and you're doing it blind.
Yeah, like most people, like myself as well included, you're only going based on what you're seeing on the telly, really.
This is the
I
thing.
don't really go out of my way to read these manifestos and things like that.
This is the thing as well, and I know there's a lot of places out there, there's a lot of news out there which says it's unbiased, and there's a lot that really do strive strive to be unbiased, but even stuff like the BBC is biased. I mean, we're biased. We're sitting here, and I'm
But at
very
least
much.
we're honest that we're
I'm
biased.
very much not a Conservative voter, but I will give you an honest rundown of pledges and what they've done, and I'm going to try and not put a spin on it. But
I won't
internally,
be able to help myself.
This is it.
It's impossible,
It's
isn't it?
really hard because internally, I'm going, yeah, right. Whenever they say something, but I'm gonna still tell you about it.
I mean, as he does tell us, I mean, you do pick up the faint aroma of feces. Well, the Conservatives say they're going to do this, and I think they might.
What's that smelly smell?
It's that farmyard smell. It's bad. God, where did that come from?
Oh, it's manure season.
So essentially, they are a bugger to read, and I mean, I've seen it myself. If you go on one media website and the newspaper and another one, you'll actually see the quotes vary and change about what one party said and what they haven't said.
Oh,
So
it's that political spin.
Yeah, it's hard to get that trust in what the media is telling you, which ones you trust, which you not trust.
Oh, you mean based on bias to each party and stuff?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and how they interpret, how the media want to interpret it, to put a spin on, to say, oh, they've said they're going to do this, and they'll just phrase it in a way which maybe they might be able to ask other questions or mislead people.
Yeah.
So I find personally it was probably better off just to go to the website themselves, see what they were saying themselves, see what they're actually claiming that they've writ themselves.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have time to go through the whole manifesto, there are breakdowns of little rough parts that they do claim.
Yeah, at least you'll get it. You're better off at least getting the outline from
Yeah.
the source, even if you can't get the full thing, because they are hefty reads. I think the Conservative ones themselves is 59 pages of fairly intensive waffle.
Labour's 103.
Labour's one. That was going to be my next point. Labour's 103 of very intensive
59.
waffle.
Come at me, bro.
You've only given me 59 pages. I can turn this up to 11.
In all fairness, though, like the first, I think there's like 3 or 4 of just blank pages on the Labour one. You've just done it to it. I think they just looked at everyone's numbers and went, you come on up here, eh? What have you got to write? I don't know. Just stick some blank pages in. No one's going to read it anyway.
We've got exactly 100. That's going to seem a bit weird. Put 3 blank pages in.
3 pages of notes.
No, yeah. Just a little dot
notes. 103 seems legit. 100 and make it look as though we just copied it from somewhere else. It's weird.
Wikipedia, copy paste.
You never get exactly 100 pages. Just put some random number in.
Hang on, what's it? It's just an IKEA mail. What the No one's going to know.
It's like how to build Great Britain.
in the middle of it, like.
How to build a Brexit. Yeah. It's called like exhorting,
Right, so
fucking offking.
So as for the information on the website, we are going to start off talking about the Conservative Party, like we said. And as for the Conservative Manifesto, one of the first one it mentions is extra funding for the NHS, with 50,000 more nurses and 50 million more GP surgery appointments a year.
This is the Conservative one you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't believe that already.
Well, no, I believe it, because what they'll do is they'll cut your 10-minute appointment time down to something like a 2-minute appointment time. And they'll go, come on, bro.
Although, to be fair, the part of that claim's already been refuted. I was watching an interview with the Health Secretary on BBC News, and the 50,000 nurses that were supposed to come in, roughly 18,000 of them are already nurses. And in their pledge, they say, we are going to bring in 50,000 more nurses to the NHS. Yeah. Now, the reporter pushed them on this and said, so you're saying you're going to bring in 50,000 more nurses. How is that more when there is already 18,000 of them in the NHS? And he goes, well, we're going to keep them in the NHS. So that 50,000 number is true. It's like, well, no, you're keeping them. They're already there. That's not more. Yeah. That is what you have now.
That's a different word.
That's a different word. That means a different thing. I think the word more is not the word that you think it is, because that's not the same thing. And then she was just pushing him on it, going, that's not more. And he's going, no, well, you're not listening to the answer. Here's the answer. Let me speak. Let me finish. And then he's just going, we're bringing 50,000 more nurses into the NHS, and 18,000 of them are already in there. We're going to retain them. It's like, you've literally just contradicted yourself.
Yeah.
Literally just contradicted yourself.
Straight away, it's just lying straight off the bat. Even on the spot, Even on the spot. I don't understand how people can do that. Like, stubbornly just refuse. Like, no, it doesn't matter what everyone else says, what the facts dictate. I'm sticking to the story no matter what.
That's just the life of a politician, though, normally, isn't it? I mean,
it never used to be as bad as this, though. I think nowadays it's gotten to the point where even when you are presented with the facts, even when you've got evidence in front of you, they still deny it.
I think it's the more ridiculous the lie is anyway, the more press it gets. So then it's a popularity contest now. More than anything.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That's all it is.
You're not wrong.
They double down, don't they, as well? They go, oh my God, he's called my bluff. Hold the line. Hold
It is. Yeah.
We built this lie. We will maintain it.
Deserters will be shot.
Deserters will be made to go into the back benches.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can see them like pissing with sweat as well, and they go, yeah, but you just contradicted yourself. They go, no, listen, just listen.
Let me finish. Okay, I'm finished.
Can't I finish? So I just straight out the bat, you don't have much confidence. They've already lied about one thing. The fact that 50 million more appointments. I mean, if you calculate how many more GPs they need, and it wasn't that long ago that the Conservatives were talking about phasing out GPs and having specialised nurses do the position instead.
Yeah.
So take nurses up to a certain band, make them specialised in diagnostics, because essentially that's what a GP's job is. They diagnose people from a basic so they can direct them, but they
You
also
actually described what a GP is on this podcast.
Yeah.
Doesn't everyone know?
No,
don't.
Because here's the thing, here's the crucial thing, everyone thinks they just diagnose, but they don't. It's money management, right? What they're actually doing is they'll have a budget for how much money they can spend.
Oh, okay.
Right?
It never used to, by the way, this is something else the Conservatives have brought in. It used to be a case of, it was a central budget. It didn't matter. If a GP thought you needed treatment, they'd just get your treatment. But now, each GP
has a budget.
Right?
Right? So that's your budget for the financial year. You cannot go past that. And obviously you'd be under scrutiny if you did. So what they're actually doing is they're saying, well, do you dramatically need, like, am I going to be facing liability if I don't put you through to them? Like, can I fob you off this way? You get a lot of people getting fobbed off with certain drugs as well. And there's also the cost of the medication you put
the
on.
medication itself costs. Even when you're getting something on prescription, you pay for your prescriptions, you're paying most of the time, you're paying a fraction of the cost of the drug itself.
It's silly as well, because that just reminded me, I've seen some Facebook post a while ago, and it was, they say the NHS spends, I can't remember the exact figure, but it spends so much on paracetamol, yet you can just get it there cheap from like a cheap supermarket. Why are the NHS spending this much on it, rather than the prices we can get it ourselves? In paracetamol, for example, like you can get paracetamol nowadays for about 7p or something like that, really cheap in some supermarkets. Why aren't the NHS looking at it like that? Because they're paying well more for it.
Yeah, but the profit more for something like the paracetamol, they prescribe it to you, and you have to go buy that prescription. If anyone does go buy that prescription, that's £9. So the NHS take a claim of that, which would be more than what they're paying. Right, something like prescribing people paracetamol is brilliant, because the way the NHS can claim some money back and actually use to keep themselves going, because the government's just not giving them what they need.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is,
the flip side as well is that if they do prescribe it in hospitals, generally they will pay more for it than, say, the supermarkets, because of the deals that they've got with the drug companies.
Yeah.
And in that case, if they give it to you in a place where you're not paying for it, then they are paying through the nose, but then, as Ian said, they'll recoup some of those losses through prescriptions.
Yeah, so that's where they're getting some kind of profit somewhere.
Yeah, but if your pharmacist is a decent pharmacist, I've had a few times where I've gone in with a prescription and they've gone, it's just cheaper if you just buy that, you know, mate. And I've gone, oh right, okay, fair enough, and just got it over the counter, which helps the pharmacist, to be fair, because they're getting more of the money, and helps you because you're not buying it unnecessarily for £9 when it could cost you £2.
But then you're not putting that money in the NHS.
Then you're not putting that money in the NHS.
I never thought like that. Fucking hell, that's good though.
So it's just a mad little cycle. I wish we were more open about this information. With a lot of business management, like everything, they don't think long term. So you might have situations where a doctor, say, it's actually common with like stuff like depression and that, we'll give you a cheap medication. Why? Because the amount I'm giving you, it might cost us £4, and we're going to charge you, I think it was £8 odd now, was it, for the...
£9 a script now, isn't it?
Is it about £9 a script, something like that?
Or per item rather than per script.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone per item cost now.
Right, okay, that makes more sense anyway. You can actually recoup some of it, and so they'll do that because they're actually making a bit more money back, or even breaking even, so instead of losing it. But if what you need and what is better for you is one that is actually dearer, well then you're going to be using up more of their time, coming back and forth, suffering yourself, rather than getting diagnosed properly and having the time to do that. But then we're in a society where you've even got, you're literally down to your 10 minutes. If you go in and say, I've got this and this problem,
You should book the double appointments.
You should have booked double appointments. I
I've
haven't
had
got the
that
time.
before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had that
So
before. Where I've
been-
gone in for one thing, and I knew there was another thing as well. So I literally just said to him, "Oh, while I'm here as well, I've got this." And he went, "No, what do you mean while you're here? This is your appointment." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, this is my appointment, and I'm still in the room with you, so this is wrong as well." And I actually got told off by the doctor. I felt like I was in school, and I'm like, I'm not being funny,
You're
mate.
a naughty boy. You should have booked a double appointment.
I'm not being funny, mate. You are here to diagnose me. I'm here to tell you my problems. You're supposed to be giving me help. And he was a relatively new doctor. Not that he was a bad doctor. I mean, he seemed to know what he was doing. It was his bedside manner and the attitude that he had that was my problem with him.
Right.
Because he genuinely told me off, and I was like, "Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
I've got a problem, and I've come to you. Why does it matter whether I've taken 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes? This whole appointment here is that you're supposed to be sorting me out. I get you've got your numbers, but this is ridiculous. What's the point in saying, oh, someone's got to be sorted in 10 minutes when realistically you could be putting someone in danger if you're just seeing them for 10 minutes?
That's it. It's just rushed, isn't it? Rushed
It's
diagnosis.
so rushed. It's so rushed.
It's
Being
just
fair
one of-
to him, he did sort me out after grumbling and moaning and telling me off. I think it's because he saw that I was quite pissed off at the time. So he still sorted me out and gave me a prescription. But that's the way that it is nowadays. If you've got more than one ailment, you're supposed to book another appointment for each thing that you've got wrong.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You can't be too angry. I mean, you get the fact is
Oh, I get it.
the pressure on them is up.
Yeah, it must be tough doing that job now then.
Yeah, I mean, and thing about it, if you're getting it's understandably you were frustrated and you alleviated those frustrations, but you're getting that off everyone, and maybe knowing yourself, you probably put that over in a more polite way that you were frustrated, didn't start screaming.
I've been in customer service jobs. I wasn't going to immediately start screaming at them, but I made them know that I was frustrated.
A lot of people out there are very mouthy, very just quick to react, and will swear, shout, scream, threat, whatever. They have to take this stuff every day. And the budgets are being cut, the windows being cut, and then the Conservative make a statement like this: 50 million more GP appointments a year. Every GP in the country must have seen that and went, how is that possible? Because GPs get paid, I can't remember now, it's like, I know it's a high value.
It's not as high as a lot of people think. I think when you start as a GP, the average I saw was in the 40s to 50s.
Yeah, something like that.
That's the average.
It's still quite a lot of money
It's
to pay
a lot
for
of
GP.
money, but when you think about doctors, you think that they're all driving around in bloody Lamborghinis, but they're really not.
No.
It's a good it's a really good wage.
But you're living in your job with that one though, are you?
You're living in your job, yeah. You take your job home with you as well.
Yeah, so you're not really kind of enjoying your high wage really because you're just living and work anyway.
Yeah, when you're a doctor though, you go in knowing that that's your life.
Well,
You're a
yeah.
doctor.
What is it, 5-6 years to become a doctor, something like that?
5 to train.
You go do your study, then you go work as a residence for 2 or 3 years, I think it is. So I think it's like maybe 8 in total or something, so to be full fledged.
Once you're no longer a junior doctor and you're actually fully qualified, you've got to do on the job training as well as the actual degree.
Jesus.
It is quite a lengthy process.
I've got a lot of respect for the process that people go through to become a doctor.
And then what if you don't become a doctor? You go so far as well and you just don't make it.
You just don't make it. Yeah.
Lol.
Moving on.
Sucks to be your asshole.
And then you have to go to the doctor with depression.
And it's your classmates.
And then you're like,
What's the matter? Couldn't diagnose yourself, asshole.
and then they kick you out because you spent too long in there and then you got to make another appointment.
It's when he makes statements like this, you think the NHS must just sit there in fear of thinking, how the hell are you going to back that up? Because there's no way you're going to pull that many GPs out your ass, and the money, even though you're allowed 10 minutes appointment, you probably only do really
I think
5
it
an
vary.
hour.
You probably do like 5 minutes for one and then 20 minutes for another, and then
Yeah.
But then the other thing is as well, they've got the write-up time afterwards.
Yeah.
You don't count that in.
That's not all factored in because you'll just get pressed for everything. And
I have never gone to a doctor's and gone in at the time that my appointment is. Never. I don't think that has ever happened.
because you'll have to
No, I
sort stuff
agree.
out before you have to get your file up, pre-read your file, make sure something so they're prepared and ready for you
Yeah.
for when you come in. So they're probably getting through 30-40 patients a day. Say.
If they're lucky.
Yeah, if they're lucky. And they're saying 50 million. How many GP? I don't know first, I'm going to call it. I'd love to get. I'm not smart enough to work that out on the top of my head.
One eternity later.
4,807 doctors extra. Okay. So that's if they work 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
Right, so we just can't. Oh my god! So actually,
here's the calculation.
Right, so we just calculated there.
Here's the calculation I've just run through. Is to get 50 million more appointments. So we're being generous and we're saying each doctor does about 40 appointments a day. They work 5 days a week and we're not giving them any holidays. We're going to be slave drivers. They're going to work 52 weeks a year. They're not even getting Christmas off. Screw
that.
Screw that. So they're getting the weekends and they're going to be happy with it. That's all they're getting. So if we work with those numbers, you would need 4,807 and 2/3 of a doctor.
Right. Now, can we times that by the cost? So 40,000. No, 40. Yeah, 40 grand.
Yeah,
said
I think it was about 42 grand a year was the average.
We'll
So I'll just do 40.
Yeah, we'll be kind and we'll say 40 on the lower end.
That works out to be 192,307,692 pounds and 31 pence per year.
Just on GPs to oh my god, that is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. If just on their first line of what they say they're going to do, forget the fact that they've already just straight out lied about the 50,000 nurses.
Oh, we haven't even calculated the nurses' fees.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that as well. We'll have you listening for 16 hours.
Extra funding, like an extra like £4, and you think they're going to get 50 million more GP surgery appointments at a cost of 192 million. What the? My ass. That's the only thing you can say to that.
Well, this is per
bullshit.
year though, so this is going to be over 5 years. So over the entire term of the Conservatives, if they stick to that number, it's going to be close to $1 billion. It's 961
on GPs.
961,538,461 pounds and 54p.
The only way that they will actually be able to do this is to do something silly like drop your appointments down to about a minute or two. Like, what you want, thingy.
But that's if they
phone
keep.
book, yeah.
If they're not intending on putting any more GPs into it. This is the thing. Yeah. If they're intending on keeping the amount of GPs we've got now, they're just going to have to reduce the appointment time. And if they're intending on increasing the GPs, not only are we going to have to, for an extra 5,000 GPs, we're not only going to have the extra 5,000 GPs, we're going to have the extra GP surgeries to put them in.
Yeah.
Because the NHS's building capacity is really tight at the minute. Even the buildings that they've got, they're struggling to maintain. Then you've got building costs. Then you've got maintenance. Then you've got staff. Because we're only talking about the GPs for an extra 50 million appointments. You're gonna need someone who's going to actually record those 50 million appointments and those 50 million records and those 50 million extra 10 minutes a day. You're gonna have extra cleaners to go around and clean all the stuff. You're gonna have extra equipment for when the doctors use it. There's loads and loads of costs involved, and we just touched on the wages of the doctors if they got extra doctors to do them.
Only such a small fraction of the whole budget there, really, haven't we?
Yeah, that is a pittance in terms of the NHS.
Almost $1 billion.
Almost $1 billion is a drop in the ocean for how much we spend on the NHS.
I'm just going to point out as well the fact that, okay, say if you brought all these GPs in, you can't train GP overnight. We've already covered that. It can take about 8 years around that to actually get them fully fledged and trained.
Yep.
So what would you do? Well, apparently we'll even...
Let's get Brexit done.
So what we want people to come from different countries.
Yeah.
Only by 5,000 though. We're only letting doctors in. So that's fine. 5,000 doctors.
But we'll need, we need another 32,000 because apparently they will have 18.
They've already got 18.
So
32,000 nurses.
We need another 32,000 nurses plus your 5,000 doctors, maybe some maintenance staff that we need to train up overnight. Some engineers, builders.
We're leaving Europe so we can use all of our unemployed to do that. So they're fine.
But we have to train them up.
Oh God,
right?
yeah.
So
we need
no
to
time
train
for that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to, get. So next thing, you've increased the population by 100,000. All those 100,000 will need, medical attention at some point.
So we'll have to get another 50 doctors.
Yeah. So which will put more stress on the NHS. So then we'll need to get more people.
So you get an idea of what we're trying to say.
Conservative logic.
So it's a lie.
And that's line one.
Line one.
Yeah.
Really good start.
Wow.
20 minutes worth of talking. Line one.
Wow.
Still, that's fascinating. No, I didn't know that.
It's when you really start to delve into all of the manifestos. I'm slight spoiler warning here for everyone who's listening. Actually, major spoiler warning. All these manifestos, they're all lies.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Conservatives ones either. All of them are lies.
It's all propaganda to get your vote.
But you heard it here first,
I mean, you really have got to start looking at maybe what they've done for you in the past, to know some of the people in your who've been
really good in representing your interests.
That's who you really got to back.
So that's a really good logic of doing it. Just find out who's done what in the past, rather than reading these long manifestos.
It's one of the better ways of doing it, is see what they voted for, the kinds of things that they've represented in your area, and for the wider country, if they voted in the way that you would in certain things like Brexit, like NHS reform. All of this is still going to go through Parliament regardless of what party's in power, so you can see their voting records. One of the main sites that I use is called They Work For You, and it shows you the voting records of anyone you look up.
Yeah, you literally can just go click on the person, find that representative, and just go through. It'll tell you what bill was being put through, or what motion was being put through, and it can say if they voted for or against it, and you can be like, well, I would have voted for that. Oh, you voted for it. I would have voted against that. Oh, you voted against it. And you can generally just go through.
If you use a line, then
I think this has been mentioned, hasn't it?
We very, very briefly mentioned it in a previous podcast, but it is worth mentioning, especially with election season coming up.
Yeah, true.
But it's worth looking up. So line 1, let's move on to pledge number 2.
Yeah. Oh God, 20,000 more police. There's that word again.
More police.
20,000 more police and tougher sentencing for criminals.
Now,
okay, so we've already spent how much?
I'm gonna very, very briefly.
So with this last tenner we've got left, I know what we can do.
Well, this is the one that I'm gonna very briefly touch on this. That extra 20,000, so 20,000 more police. Okay, there's that word again, and they love to use this word again. 20,000 more police. Yeah. Those 20,000 police, right? They won't even make up the shortfall from the cuts that they made when they came into power. So we are still not back to the same policing levels that we were when the Conservatives got into power. And we can blame Mrs. Theresa May for that. So thanks Theresa. Thanks, Theresa. And Boris,
Theresa. Come on down, love.
Theresa, thanks for that. And Boris now is trying to reverse your massive fuck up where you said that, police numbers don't have an effect on crime. Really?
Oh my God,
really? Those numbers are not going to even increase the police up to where it was.
When did the cut start again? When the police cuts?
During the time that Theresa May was Home Secretary, so during when David Cameron was in power.
Bit by bit, another bit, and it was just
kept on cutting budgets, and that was the same time where they were changing the immigration laws as well. And
but
we had
funnily enough, did you notice how areas in London and kind of around the London area, you'd notice that our budget would drop so much, and theirs would go up like 0.5% or something. Just changed it. Just
what, like they take it down from the north and put it up in the south or something?
I mean, Chester dropped. I think Chester dropped something like 15%.
Let's be fair.
And then theirs went up like a bump. Strangely, like one of the
more affluent areas
in Hertfordshire, I think it was. Strangely, took a 1% bump.
Right.
Let's just take money from there and then we'll just put a little bit over here.
Although, I will point out that in the London area itself, in actual London, they did lose a lot of police as well. The whole country did lose a lot of police numbers.
Because politicians don't live in London. No. They live
outside.
They live in like Surrey and things like that.
They live on a helicarrier that flies above London, above all the riffraff and all the knife crime. That's where they live.
They live in these nice little, surrounding areas and commute into London. So as long as they have a nice train ride in, a lovely train ride in, a nice carriage ride.
As long as there's no crosses on the train.
Yeah. Right. And then they have their own flat in case they need to stay away, right, which they might claim for.
Oh, God, yeah.
The whole debacle.
Second home allowance.
Yeah.
Although the guy who wanted to build a moat is a bit of a legend, though, isn't he?
Oh, the duck house and the moat, that's a whole other thing.
If you want to just waste taxpayers' money, do it on something impressive.
Build a $5,000 duck house.
Do you know what I mean? What if the French invade, right?
Oh, God, those ducks need protection.
I forgot about the French.
Oh, yes, forget about the French.
We cannot swim.
Bonjour, our French contingent. We love you, really.
Hello.
They won't be able to get over that moat in their baguettes.
So
we've just lost that.
We're going to move on we're going to move on from policing because realistically, there's not a lot to speak of. It's more money that they say they're going to spend.
Yeah.
But
the time to train them, or even if
they're not even reversing the cuts that they made, and again, the time to train them, they're expecting to get these police on the streets in nanoseconds. They're just expecting to magic 20,000 people who are going to be wanting to be police officers out of thin air.
Yeah.
You know what they're going to do? There's going to be a little letter to everyone's door that they sacked, being like, "We're sorry."
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
With that classic picture of like the fella pointing the finger.
We need
you.
No, we desperately need you.
You know, you were a police officer like 5 years ago, and we just decided, you don't need to be one anymore. We kind of want you back. We give you pepper spray this time and a taser.
And a taser.
Yeah.
No guns though. We're still not that desperate, but we might get there soon.
They need more police in London anyway, with all the knife crime going on.
They need police everywhere.
Well,
it's just this is what happens when you cut police. Police numbers do have an influence.
I remember when you had the Matrix round here. The Matrix, people feared the Matrix.
Film?
The Matrix unit.
The Matrix unit, the gun
remember,
crime Matrix unit.
Oh my God, people they messed around with, like, when you see a Matrix fan go past you, you used to crap one, right? Even if I was never up to no good, right? Okay, right? Should clarify that.
I was a good boy.
Okay.
He says, but what's that tag on your leg?
But like, that's the stuff that crackhead parents would tell the kids, scare the kids. Now you behave now, but the Matrix unit's coming for you.
Matrix unit's going to come through.
What did it look like? I've probably seen it.
It was just big yellow riot vans with Matrix. It was to tackle gun crime. The Matrix unit was formed, and there was loads of areas where there was graffiti on the wall saying "kill all the Matrix" and all that kind of stuff.
You mean just the normal yellow vans that you see? Oh, they're still going round.
They're still going round, but there was a.
I didn't know that's what they were called.
Delta, is it Delta now? Is it? Because it's like three different things. It was Matrix, and like they must have been told like you have full right to do whatever you want.
Oh, is it?
Then the stop and search was like really prominent, and
I've
been stopped and searched a few times by those kind of vans.
Pissed off a few people because they were doing nothing wrong, and there's arguments of whether stop and search works, and this is another one of the Conservatives' pledges as well, as they're going to increase stop and search powers. Now, if you're talking about crime on a national scale, the thing that has been proven to work in studies is community policing. If you go to your non-affluent areas, if you go to your areas where there's loads of kids who have come from poor families, who have no prospects, who are basically being ignored by society, they're the ones who are going to fall into crime because they have no other option, or they see themselves to have no other option. Now, I mean, I came from a crap area, and I've tried my best to fight my way out of it, but it could have been so easy to fall into crime because in those kind of areas, it's everywhere.
Couldn't picture you as a gangster.
I couldn't picture me as a gangster. I couldn't picture me as a gangster.
You tried your best, but nah, you weren't one to me.
No, I'd be one of those just crackheads on the street who tried and failed and just end up addicted to something.
You're miserable because you couldn't make it in a gang.
Tried to be if only.
That's all I've got in my head is Bugsy Malone. We could have been anything that we wanted to be.
I see the kids watching all those films and turn up to a gang one time and be like,
you just pull out knives. Fucking you, lad.
With a pie like that in your hand.
This is a musical, let's go.
In a suit.
Full on 50s gangster suit.
Sing.
Let's make a gang, say, join me, let's go.
Hey, come on now, you bunch of mugs. Let's go out and do a soul robbery, see?
I see you stab me, see, but let's go.
That isn't the way we do things around here, see? Now I got a knife on my ribs. But this is it. It's so easy for all these kids to fall into it, and community policing, basically putting money into these areas, really does reduce that kind of violent crime, the robberies, the kind of bottom of the barrel crime where people usually do it because they're desperate.
Yeah.
Not because they want to. Whereas stop and search alienates communities. You find that they kind of close ranks. Even if you're not doing anything, if you're stopped and searched by the police, you feel victimised and you're like, well, what did I do? Why have I been stopped and searched?
Actually, I don't know.
I don't know because you say that, but as I said before, I have been stopped a few times, to be honest. Don't know why, but then the best thing to do is just not take it personally. Just,
I mean, that is the best thing to do, but then you're coming from a logical perspective, not an emotional one. And if you've lived in a crappy area all your life and you feel as though society itself has forgotten you, and then on a weekly basis you're then getting stopped by the police and you're late for work because they stopped you to search you and you're being bitched out by your boss, all you're going to think of is that police officer is the one who fucked your day, and that kind of thing will build up.
I don't know.
It's not going to be with with everyone. It isn't going to be with everyone.
What I'm going to say is the majority of the public, I mean, I said this before as well, everyone is emotional thinkers and we can try and be logical. Some people, fortunately, can be a bit more logical a lot more often than others, and it is really predominant that people just are controlled by their emotions, even without taking a minute to think. Now, the third statement they made was an Australian-style points-based system to control immigration. That one, yeah, like that is a logical one, like, because that's what anyone should do. At the end of the day, it's all about your society. You don't really care. I don't really care where everyone's from, culture, language, whatever. Well, you know, language you need to be able to.
You kind of need to be able to speak language.
This is more part of it, isn't it? Because you need to be able to communicate. So saying, what can you bring to our society? Do you have a job lined up? Confirming all these things. To me, that is just logical sense, because all you're trying to do is improve your society. How well can we function together and prosper? As a community.
Yeah.
As immigration currently stands, there already is basically a point system in place. It's just where Europe is concerned, we have free movement, and that's the thing that people don't like, is that we've got free movement with Europe. We can go there, they can come here, we can work, we can live, we can do everything there. If you're from outside of Europe, you do have to hit markers. It's just we haven't got the term point system. You still have to earn enough money to hit a threshold. You still have to have enough prospects to hit this threshold. You have to be working. You have to hit certain criteria, just like you do in the point system. It's just they don't assign you points for it. So it's kind of already there. I think it would probably be a little bit simpler to understand if there was a point system in place, but I don't think it's going to be that different than what we've got now, if I'm honest.
So one thing that does kind of stick in my head, because I don't know how thorough, I'll be honest, I don't really know how thorough these systems are. One thing I do know that has happened, and it's not, I haven't just heard it from one person, I do know many nurses through relatives and also friends. One thing that does get mentioned to me is lots of simple mistakes get made when it comes to medication doses and stuff like these. You would think that would be a very important thing to drive home, to check for.
Yeah.
I mean, that understanding of language, so there's miscommunication.
It's not something you think to ask, though, is it?
It's not something that immigration, I think, would sort. It's like you said. It's not something that you think to ask.
Yeah, it's just in a job interview or something, you wouldn't go, okay, now do you know these measurements?
But maybe not in the job interview, but to turn around and be harder on the companies employing people.
Yeah.
To say you have to meet certain standards when you're asking these people questions.
Surely
they should be competent. They should at least have a trial period.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Because surely did this person not think to ask, what does this mean? I've never seen this before. Because it's not this kind of measurement from wherever they're from.
I think everyone's done this type of thing. It's just more serious when it comes to sort of like medical issue, where someone will say something and you go, yeah. And then you walk off and you go, I don't know what you are on about. And you go have a little
and
crack
then
anyway.
You kind of think to yourself, I've left that too long to ask the question now. I'm going to look like a real idiot.
The worst part is if they're doing that job, like they've done that job at home all the time, you don't really. It
yeah, I can see where
comes to second nature to them. It's not to us now. If I explain it to you, you go, "Well, that's bad." When I got told it, I thought that is horrific.
Yeah.
But it's like anyone in any job, it just becomes just a thing.
Well, it's like you just said. I guess it gets to the point where you've left it tongue. You're afraid to ask the question. It's like, who cares? Just ask.
Yeah,
you're not sure. What's wrong with people? That's why I look stupid all the time, because I ask a million questions.
Because,
which is good, though,
again, you're not coming. You're coming from this from logic.
Yeah.
Well,
But people don't come at things from logic. They come at things from, oh God, I'll be really embarrassed if I've got to ask them. Oh God, I'll look like an idiot. Oh, they'll think I'm stupid. And it's like, but it doesn't matter if you think you're stupid, because realistically, you're not going to kill someone, and you're going to do your job properly. It's a hard one. People lean on this points-based immigration system, and I wouldn't be against it realistically, because it's a criteria-based thing. You're going to come in if we need you to come in, or if you're going to contribute to society and you're going to get residence, and that's fine. There is something already in there that does that. It's just the European side of things is very easy for us to have free movements, whereas outside of that it's not. And the deal that we've got with Europe at the moment, and what will likely be put in place in future, I very much doubt we will have a point system for Europe. I think we're going to have exemptions everywhere for Europeans.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be concession.
I would be shocked.
Sorry.
I would be shocked if a points-based immigration system actually did anything for us. It just, everyone seems to like the Australian one because the Australians don't like anyone coming in.
Well, it's, see, with the Australian, it's even, can you understand someone? No, I'll be honest here. I used to live down south. Now, I was applying for jobs.
Down south's not the same as Australia.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
The south of England.
Yeah. Same thing.
There's a difference of about a couple of thousand miles, but it's the same thing.
I was applying for jobs. And after talking to me, said, well, you know, you seem like a suitable candidate, but we feel that maybe if it was a telephone job or a job where I had to interact heavily with customers, one thing would come up. We feel that your accent would get in the way and be a yes, would be a struggle. So it won't be funny, but I generally could jump on the racist bus, all this crap, right? But I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of get that. Yeah. And one thing in the Australian one is you have to be clear. The Australians say you have a sit down meeting, and if they have to keep asking what all the time, that's it, it's a fail. If they can't understand you, how the hell can you work in somewhere where you're going to interact with people? You're going to slow. You're not good for business. You're going to slow everything down.
Yeah,
there's going to be
with
miscommunications, especially something really serious like a medical field.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if someone mishears something you're saying or misconstrues something, like I just mentioned before, that can be really dangerous.
Well, we don't know how many times that's happened where it's become fatal as well. We just don't know.
Clinical mistakes happen all the time.
Must have happened.
It could happen. I mean, not to say as well that doesn't happen within the English public as well, or the British public. Sorry, miscommunications, misunderstandings, or just people being too shy to ask someone.
But this is it. Is that I get the need to have immigration reform. The public outcry for it is there. I think just by using the vague statements, which again, this is it. It's a vague thing of an Australian style point system. That means nothing. Yeah, it depends on what they put in it. It really does, because we've already got checks and balances there. If they don't actually change what's in this thing and they just go, okay, above a certain amount of money you've got 3 points, above a certain amount of English attainment you've got 3 points, if you've got family living here you get 5 points, if you're a millionaire you can basically just buy a passport, which you'd think I'm joking about. That does happen. Every single country has high value immigrant passports where you can literally just jump the queue and go, alright, I'm going to bring me, my family and my 80 million in the bank to your country to live. Are you going to give me a passport? And they go, fucking right we are.
Yes!
Fucking right we are. Do you want 2? I'll give you 2. And that just happens, and that's always going to happen. Depends on what they put in there, I think, is going to be a big factor.
Like you said, they only have to say like one little change and they get away with it.
Yeah, they get away with it.
The fourth statement on the website is millions more invested every week in science, schools, apprenticeships and infrastructure while controlling debt. Now, I do love the fact that they went millions, so they have to do plural. So they
is there a specific figure there, though?
No. So they could literally they could just cut that off as 2 million and then spread that 2 million over
5 years.
Over 5 years. Over science, schools, apprenticeships and infrastructure.
Which
and
would mean
controlling debt.
25 pence per thing.
Per year. Like,
per year. That's the opinion of Why Just Why. You dirty bastards.
It is scummy as fuck, that though, isn't it?
Nothing else to say.
No, there's not much. Realistically, that is a bit of a non-statement. What is millions more? And the other thing is as well, when you talk about the entire country, more. It's always more.
So how can you be certain with like NHS figures, but they can't with this?
Well, because they've got no intention on putting anything into the sciences. Years ago, when the coalition government got in, when it was the Conservatives and the Lib Dems, science budgets all over the country got slashed. Research went out the window. Teacher salaries were getting slashed. The bursaries for people training were gone. They've had so many cuts over the years. We've been living in austerity for years, and I don't believe a word of it. Especially when they're not willing to give hard figures. If they don't give you an actual number, they just say millions, whatever. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but some idiot out there is like, oh, millions.
Millions,
yes, got my vote.
But then millions is a drop in the ocean. You could spend 3 million on one research project.
Yeah.
That is nothing. That is a non-statement. Millions. What's millions?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's just a weird...
On the countrywide scale as well, billions is what you should be saying. Billions with a B. That's a substantial amount. That's something that's going to do it. $1 billion investing into the NHS, wouldn't touch the sides.
No, well, we've just established that before
So,
anyway.
but for science and education, especially education at the minute, billions, that would make a substantial difference. But they're not even pledging that, they're just saying millions, so what could it be?
And all they keep talking about now, we're just gathering the fact that it's more money, we're going to put more money to this, more money to this. No mention of how they're going to raise that money. No.
That's a good point,
I haven't heard nothing yet how they're going to raise this money. The fifth one that they propose is reaching net zero by 2050 with investments in clean energy solutions and green infrastructure to reduce carbon emissions and pollution.
That really winds me up.
When you say reaching net zero, is that the debt?
No, that's our carbon
we're
emissions.
talking about carbon emissions.
greenhouse
So
gases.
this is green energy and green policies when you're talking about net zero. So any party that talks about net zero, they're now talking about climate change. And
Is that what that word means? Climate, there's something to do with climate change, net zero.
No, well, net zero means in total. Total
So
zero,
for every-
but you could use it for finances, but in generally it's kind of become the buzzword for talking about greenhouse emissions.
So for every gram of greenhouse emissions that we pump into the air, we will have something in place that will pull that back out of the air. So planting more trees. So trees take carbon out of the air. Algae in seas take carbon out of the air. So we're going to reduce our carbon emissions to a point where the country is not producing more than it's pulling back out of the air.
Is that possible?
Yeah, there is one country, it's Bhutan. They are actually what's known as a carbon sink. Every bit of carbon that they actually produce, their entire country as a whole, and the greenery, the vegetation, everything around it, actually pulls more carbon out of the air than they produce in. So they are actually the one and only country that is actively preventing global warming at the minute.
That's quite cool.
Big up Bhutan.
Yeah,
Where is
Bhutan?
Do you have an idea where Bhutan is?
It's just under China. It's in Asia, but it is basically the only properly carbon sink country in the world. So they take more carbon out than they produce. There's a few of them though who are kind of carbon neutral and carbon sink as well, but Bhutan's basically the main one. Yeah, so where they're saying as well they want to be carbon neutral by 2050, all of the experts have basically said we're up shit creek if loads of people aren't essentially carbon neutral by 2030. We're accelerating at such a rate now that there's going to be catastrophic changes, and it's about a 50-50 chance that we can't do shit about it if we don't at least do something by 2030.
Yeah.
There's a load of scientists out there who are saying that, and yet you've still got countries like, sorry to say it guys if you're listening, but America who's unfortunately, again, I'm sorry to say it, your leader, because he is
Captain Fad.
Captain Fart himself. He is your leader. Still saying the science is out, and the science is conflicting, and people are disagreeing. No, they're fucking not. They haven't been disagreeing for 50 years. All of them know what the fuck's going on.
Well, I can't even remember the scientist's name. Like 1980 odd, and he was literally going to every frigging country.
We're all gonna die unless you do something.
And he, I can't remember. He was English American, but he was going to every single country, meeting with everyone, saying, "Listen, we need to pack it in," and they were just looking at him going. so
I like money.
Do you think these
do you not
magical
like money?
gases go in the sky and then the world's going to cook? You crazy person! Like
so bad. Isn't
It's like way back when diseases were first starting to be discovered and people were talking about germs, and they were saying to the populace, so there's these little tiny things and they get inside you and they get the little tiny things and they believed in something called miasma, and they went, do you think that it's not the bad smells that are making us sick? Everyone knows it's the bad smells that are making us sick.
Smell, it's not these little creatures that I
If
made up of these
oregano,
little creatures.
I put some oregano in this bird's beak that I put on my mask, I'm safe from the plague. I don't know what you mean by these little tiny things that get inside and kill us. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like people in power, they either are too ignorant to listen or know full well and are thinking, well, I'm old now.
It's
I'm
always
going to be dead first.
Yeah, I'll be dead before it affects me.
I'm going to get loads of money before I die.
It's all these people that always stop progression, isn't it?
Yeah.
For money.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's 99.9% of the time it's about possessions and it's about money.
Yeah.
That's why the public aren't educated, so like really.
Universal free education, I think, is just as important as universal free healthcare.
I suppose that's one point of this podcast, isn't it? To try and get some truth out there as much as we can, anyway.
The truth is out there.
That's a lie.
The truth is out there.
Fake news. on climate change, that's a massive issue, and they need to do something. They need to make some concrete pledges, and that isn't a concrete pledge because they've said we'll try, we will aim. What's the exact word?
So reaching net zero by 2050 with investment in clean energy solutions and green infrastructure to reduce carbon emissions and pollution. So they said they will reach it by 2050. They said with investments, that's wrong. Because you're the government, what you should say is a change in government legislation, which costs no money, just means that you're doing your job, you get off your arses, you go learn a little bit of the science, and you say, okay,
if you're
this is practical, this is not practical. What can we do? What can we not do? We're putting in government legislation in, and we can say, obviously be reasonable with it and say, okay, well, this change needs to happen within 2 years. This change needs to happen in 5 years. This change needs to happen. And they can change these laws so we become carbon offset.
Why isn't that happening?
They want money. It'll stifle business. It'll cause businesses to have to invest more money to change. And the Conservatives are very much the free market economy party, so they don't want to govern. They want free money. Free market economy is you take a bit of the pie for every bit of money that a company makes, and if you can let them make money without any oversight whatsoever, they'll make all the money, so you'll get more money, but you're basically getting it for doing nothing. It's like stand back and watch politics. That's how those kind of economics work. The problem is that in certain circumstances, corporations, as we've mentioned before, don't give a shit. So they'll do very, very unethical things to make money. And that's where you need to step in. And they don't like stepping in because it means they get less money. Now, the one last point I'm going to make on it is that Boris himself, I saw a press conference with him and he was talking about investing in green energy. And he's saying, think about with the solar panels. They said solar panels wouldn't work in the UK. We didn't have enough sun. We showed them. They said that onshore wind power wouldn't work. Yeah. Oh no, this bit's the best bit because this bit's the best bit because it really, really wound me up. Was that he went, remember when the papers were saying that inland wind farms couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding? Well, we showed them, and I was like, I remember that. And I looked it up.
To see a bowl of rice pudding.
No, wait.
The experiment.
Here's the thing that's going to get you. So the wind farms wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding. And I was like, I remember that. Where did I see that? So I looked it up. And guess what particular paper said that wind farms wouldn't be able to pull the skin off a rice pudding?
Was it Boris's?
It was Boris's column. Boris was the one who said that. Because he's a fucking dick.
Boris the animal. Boris the animal.
He's such a fucking dickhead, isn't he?
Oh, what an arse hat.
Every time the man speaks, I'm just like, he's such a dick. So
he's such a punt.
He's ripping in.
Such a punt.
Yes. He is a punt. Yeah. Replace the letter at your will with the letter that we know you want to. The fact that he's quoting himself as saying, isn't that ridiculous? You're the one who said it. Yeah. You absolute festering pile of dick cheese.
And finally, the last statement to summarise the manifesto that they put up was actually something we mentioned before when I said, they don't really mention how they're going to get the money for this. Well... The last statement is, we will not raise the rate of income tax, VAT or national insurance.
Oh yeah, I read that.
What?
Yeah.
So you're going to somehow pump out money for all these things with no... what you're saying, you're not going to increase tax. How are you going to generate the revenue?
Yeah. They're banking...
How are you going to generate that revenue?
They're banking on Brexit bringing in this money. They've pledged that as well. I will point out as well, this is a summary of the manifesto. The manifesto is huge. We're not going through every single point.
That's it. This is basically, this is on their website.
Out a few bits.
They've chose. This is the beautiful part, is they have chose. I'm not being selective. You go on their website. These are the quotes they have chose. I have literally read them out word for word. Right, I haven't paraphrased. I've quoted. And what we are doing is merely discussing and breaking down their words.
Now there is more to it, but we've picked these because they are ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
genius.
But they're banking in terms of the money on us somehow managing to pull more money out of our arse by leaving the EU.
I know you got some coffers up your arse, lad.
I've got a few coppers up my arse, but that's not going to fund the NHS for 5 years. But it's...
I've heard you jangle when you walk.
I do. I am as tight as a gnat's chuff. Ain't no coppers escaping me. Yeah, they're banking on all this money coming from us somehow magicking it up from leaving the European Union. That's another one of their pledges, that we are going to leave in January regardless of what's going on. So again, he seems to think he's going to be able to write into law his Brexit deal in about 2 weeks, because we're going to have this election, they're going to break for Christmas, and then they're going to be back and they're going to have like 3 weeks. So even when they vote on it, it isn't going to happen. If he gets in and he doesn't ask for another extension, we're leaving without a deal.
Nothing is in place.
Nothing was in place before the referendum. Nothing was in place after the referendum. Nothing's in place now.
The scary thing is, he still wants to just bail out with these ridiculous pledges. It's disgusting. It's absolutely horrific to hear someone even talk about this.
Yeah.
So that sums up, really, the Conservative Manifesto. Now we're going to have a little look at the Labour.
Unfortunately, folks, we've managed to do it again. We have overrun massively and we're going to have to cut it there. We don't want to overload you with too much information, so we're going to bring the rest of this to you in the next episode. We will get it out to you as soon as possible. So thank you again for joining us. We have been Ian Reynolds, Dave Tinsley and Craig Taylor. If you want to talk to us, if you want to chat, if you want to leave us any kind of feedback, the links are in the description below. If you're listening on a platform that allows it, if you would give us a like or subscribe, that would be great. It only helps us. And if you know anyone who would like a listen, then please pass it on. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, then it only helps us bring more content to you. Thanks again, and we will see you next time on Why Just Why.